Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about something that, if you commit to it, will completely change your life and keep you ahead of 99% of the people out there. And that is educate yourself every day. The power of lifelong learning cannot be overstated. And that is a principle that I've come to realize holds the key to everything. In the world we live in, where technology and society are evolving at lightning speed, if you're not constantly learning, you're falling behind. It doesn't matter how old you are, how much experience you have, or how successful you've been. If you stop educating yourself, you'll soon find yourself outdated, irrelevant, and left behind. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. When was the last time you learned something new? And I don't mean just reading a social media post or skimming through a headline. When was the last time you truly committed yourself to learning something that challenged you, that pushed you to grow, something that forced you to think in a new way? It's easy to get comfortable in our routines and our expertise, but the truth is, comfort is the enemy of progress. The people who rise to the top, the ones who become unrecognizable in a good way, the ones who lead and create change, are the ones who are never satisfied with what they know. They know that the day they stop learning is the day they start slipping. Let me take you back to when I first realized the power of continuous learning. I wasn't always this way. There was a time when I thought I knew enough, that I had gained enough knowledge to get by, and that would be enough to carry me forward. But I quickly realized that the world wasn't slowing down, and neither was success. As I began to meet some of the most successful people in the world, I started to see a pattern. They didn't have some magical advantage. They were simply relentless learners. They were always reading, attending seminars, networking, and finding ways to improve themselves every single day. In fact, I remember having a conversation with a highly successful entrepreneur one day. He told me, Myron, it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. And the way you work smarter is by always staying ahead of the curve. The only way to stay ahead is to educate yourself every day. At that moment, something clicked. I understood that success didn't just happen because you were born with talent or because you had a good idea. It happened because you were always evolving, always improving your skills, and always adapting to change. You have to commit to lifelong learning, whether you like it or not, if you want to stay relevant, stay competitive, and keep moving forward. Think about it. What's the difference between someone who is at the top of their field and someone who is just getting by? It's not luck. It's not about who you know or where you come from. It's about education, the kind that happens not just in the classroom, but in the real world, in your daily habits and in your constant quest to improve. The most successful people out there are doing one thing differently. They never stop learning. They understand that education doesn't stop after school. It doesn't stop when you get your degree or when you reach a certain level of success. Education is something that has to be incorporated into your daily routine, or you'll be left behind. The world is moving at an incredible pace. New technologies, new methods, new systems. Everything is changing constantly. And if you don't take the time to stay updated, you will find yourself stuck in the past. But here's the thing. It's not just about knowing the latest trends or technologies. It's about learning how to adapt, how to think critically, how to solve problems, and how to stay agile in an ever-changing environment. When you're committed to learning, your mindset shifts and you begin to approach challenges and opportunities in a completely different way. Now, here's where it gets exciting. You don't need to be a genius to stay ahead. You just need to be intentional. You need to make it a point every single day to learn something new. That could be reading a chapter from a book, watching a thought-provoking video, listening to a podcast, or even learning from someone you admire. The key is consistency. You don't need to spend hours each day learning. Even dedicating just 15 minutes a day to learning something new can have a profound impact on your life. That's the power of consistent, incremental learning. What happens when you educate yourself every day is simple. You expand your horizons, you develop new skills, you gain a better understanding of the world, and you become more adaptable. This process doesn't just enhance your career, it enhances your entire life. As you continue learning, you begin to see new opportunities that were invisible before. You begin to think creatively, problem solve better, and approach situations with a deeper understanding. But there's something even more powerful that happens when you educate yourself every day. You start to stand out. As you grow and evolve, the world around you starts to notice. When you bring new knowledge, new skills, and fresh perspectives into your work, people can't help but take notice. You start to become the person others turn to for advice, the person others respect and seek to learn from. And I'll tell you this is where success begins. Success is not just about doing the same thing as everyone else. It's about differentiating yourself, about constantly pushing yourself to be better, about being ahead of the game. And when you're constantly learning, you're naturally staying ahead of the crowd. So here's the takeaway. Make education a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. Don't let a day go by without learning something new, no matter how small. It doesn't matter what field you're in or where you're starting from. If you commit to learning and you make it a part of your everyday life, you will be in the top 1%. You will be unrecognizable in the best way possible. And in 2025, when the world is evolving faster than ever, you will be the one ahead of the pack, the one leading the charge, because you've made education your priority. Remember, every day you spend learning is another day you spend ahead of 99% of people. Make that commitment to yourself today. When you decide to focus on educating yourself every day, you begin to think like the top 1% of successful individuals. These are the people who don't just work hard, they work smart, they work with purpose, and most importantly, they never stop learning. They've adopted a mindset that says, I am a student of life and I will always be learning. They understand that knowledge isn't static, it's a dynamic force that fuels growth and opens doors. The 1% mindset is rooted in the belief that your knowledge is one of your greatest assets, and if you're not constantly feeding it, it will atrophy and leave you vulnerable. Think about the most successful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and creators you admire. What sets them apart from everyone else? It's not just about having great ideas or resources. It's about having the discipline to learn constantly, even when they don't have to. They don't rest on their past successes or on the knowledge they acquired years ago. They know that to stay ahead, they must be engaged in an ongoing process of self-education. That's why they read books, they attend seminars, they ask questions, they seek new perspectives, and they invest in mentors who can help them see what they can't see on their own. Here's the secret. The 1% are always moving forward, not because they have it all figured out, but because they understand that they are always a work in progress. Success is not something you achieve once and then sit back and relax. It's something you achieve and then continue to build upon. The pursuit of knowledge is the foundation of that continual progress. I remember early in my journey when I was trying to break through, there were days when I felt like I was doing everything right, yet the results weren't matching my efforts. I was doing the work, hustling, grinding, yet something was missing. One day I sat down with a mentor of mine, someone I deeply respected, and asked him, what am I doing wrong? His answer changed everything for me. He said, you're focused on working hard, but you're not working smart enough. The key is to educate yourself every day. Find the gaps in your knowledge and fill them. Constantly ask yourself, what do I need to learn to move to the next level? In that moment, I realized that success isn't just about what you're doing right, it's about what you're constantly learning and applying. The difference between people who make it and people who stay stuck is their willingness to learn and improve every single day. It's their ability to be uncomfortable in the learning process, to embrace new knowledge, and to use it to pivot, grow, and adapt. They don't wait for the perfect circumstances. They educate themselves now and use what they've learned to act in the present. I began to notice a pattern among the top 1% of people around me. They were relentless in their pursuit of new information. They didn't see learning as a chore or a task to complete. They saw it as a privilege. an opportunity to elevate their lives. And it didn't matter what industry they were in, whether they were entrepreneurs, athletes, or creatives, the best of the best were always investing in learning. They were committed to understanding the intricacies of their craft, not just the surface level aspects. And it was this commitment that made them stand out from the crowd. They also didn't wait for the perfect time to start learning. They didn't put it off until tomorrow. Every day they dedicated time to their own personal development, whether that was reading, listening to podcasts, or learning from others. These small daily habits compounded over time and turned them into experts in their field. The beauty of this daily learning habit is that you don't need to have huge amounts of time. It doesn't take hours every day. You can start with just 15 minutes of learning, 15 minutes of focused, intentional effort. And over time, those minutes will add up to massive transformation. The 1% also understand that learning isn't just about acquiring knowledge. It's about applying that knowledge. They don't let what they learn gather dust on a shelf. They take action. Every piece of information they absorb is immediately connected to something actionable in their life or business. If they read about a new marketing strategy, they don't just think, that's interesting. They implement it. If they discover a new productivity technique, they try it out and adjust it to fit their personal workflow. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is where the magic happens. The 1% also have a growth mindset. They don't see mistakes as failures, they see them as lessons. They know that to learn something new, to grow, you have to be willing to make mistakes and fail along the way. And most importantly, they embrace the uncomfortable feeling of not knowing it all. They know that the most valuable information often comes when you step into the unknown, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to learn from those who have been where you want to go, and to seek wisdom from places you haven't yet explored. As you think about this, I want you to ask yourself, what would it look like for you to start thinking like the 1%? How would your life change if you committed to educating yourself every single day? What could you achieve if you constantly filled the gaps in your knowledge, if you never stopped seeking new perspectives and ideas? The truth is, the top 1% don't have some mystical advantage. They've simply made the decision to prioritize learning, to make it a daily habit, and to apply what they learn relentlessly. This isn't just about knowledge for the sake of knowledge. It's about changing your reality, about breaking through the barriers that have kept you stuck. The 1% mindset doesn't wait for permission. They don't sit around hoping for success to come to them. They go after it. And they do so by arming themselves with knowledge and the courage to apply it. If you want to join the 1%, if you want to experience the kind of success that lasts, then it's time to make education a non-negotiable part of your daily life. Become relentless about learning. Don't just work harder, work smarter. Work by educating yourself every day, by arming yourself with the tools, ideas, and insights that will propel you forward. The 1% don't wait for opportunities, they create them. And you can too, but only if you commit to learning every single day. The world is changing at a pace that many of us can hardly keep up with. New technologies, new business models, and new ways of communicating are being introduced almost every day. What was considered cutting edge yesterday is quickly becoming obsolete today. If you're not constantly learning, adapting, and evolving, you will be left behind. This is why more than ever, the most successful people are those who refuse to stay stagnant. They recognize that the key to remaining relevant in an ever-changing world is to never stop learning. Now let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're living in a world where technology is transforming industries, reshaping economies, and changing the way we live our daily lives. The opportunities are immense, but so are the challenges. How do you stay ahead of the curve? How do you ensure that you're not just reacting to change, but proactively positioning yourself as a leader in this shifting landscape? The answer is simple. You educate yourself every day. Look around you. Businesses that once dominated the market have crumbled because they failed to keep up with innovation. Think of the giants, Blockbuster, Kodak, and Nokia. All of these companies were once at the top of their industries. They had the resources, the knowledge, and the market share, but they stopped evolving. They stopped learning. They failed to recognize the rapid pace at which the world was changing, and when change hit, they were caught off guard and left behind. This is the harsh truth. If you stop growing, if you stop learning, you'll find yourself irrelevant. In the modern world, staying ahead isn't just about keeping up. It's about staying ahead of the changes before they happen. And to do that, you must be constantly evolving. This is the new world order. Change is constant, and it's those who adapt the quickest who succeed. The greatest innovators and disruptors are those who are constantly looking for new ways to solve problems, new technologies to harness, and new ideas to explore. They understand that knowledge is power, but it's not just any kind of knowledge. It's the knowledge of what's coming next, what's on the horizon, how they can be the ones driving that change. Consider the tech world, for example. You know how fast technology is evolving? Just think about the rise of artificial intelligence, blockchain, and quantum computing. These fields are developing at an exponential rate, and to stay competitive, you need to be constantly updating your skills and knowledge. The entrepreneurs and business leaders who are making the most of these advancements are those who have chosen to educate themselves continually, who have made learning about emerging technologies a part of their everyday lives. They're not waiting for the next trend to be handed to them. They're actively seeking out the knowledge that will give them a competitive edge. But it's not just in tech that this applies. The same is true for any field you're in. The landscape of business, finance, healthcare, marketing, and even the arts is being reshaped by new trends and evolving practices. Every industry is transforming. The jobs that exist today may not exist in the same form a few years from now, and new job roles are being created that we can't even fully comprehend yet. This is the beauty of the modern world. It's a constant evolution, and it's also why you have to stay ahead. You need to stay aware of what's happening right now and what's coming in the future so that you can make educated decisions about your next steps. To give you a real-world example, think about the rise of social media. When platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter first emerged, many businesses were unsure of their potential. But the savvy entrepreneurs and marketers who jumped on the bandwagon early recognized the opportunity to connect directly with consumers in a way that had never been possible before. They didn't wait for social media to prove itself. They educated themselves about the platforms and adapted their businesses accordingly. Today, social media is one of the most powerful tools for business growth, and those who didn't adapt have been left behind. I've seen this happen in countless industries, and it's a reminder of how crucial it is to be in the know. You can't afford to be complacent, to sit back and wait for the future to unfold. You have to proactively shape your future by constantly educating yourself. Whether it's new tools, new strategies, or new ways of thinking, being aware of these shifts can mean the difference between staying ahead or falling behind. And you don't have to be an expert in everything. You just have to be informed enough to take action when the opportunity presents itself. One of the greatest advantages of education today is the accessibility of knowledge. In the past, staying ahead required being physically present in classrooms or specialized seminars. But today, the internet has opened up endless opportunities for self-education. You can take courses from world-class universities, attend virtual workshops, read books, listen to podcasts, and connect with experts all over the world, all from the comfort of your own home. The barrier to entry has never been lower, and that means there's no excuse not to educate yourself every single day. But here's the catch. You need to be intentional about how you learn. It's not enough to simply consume information. You need to be deliberate in how you seek out knowledge that's relevant to where you want to go. Too many people consume random information without a clear purpose, hoping that something will stick. But the most successful people I know don't just passively absorb knowledge. They actively seek out information that's going to propel them forward. They prioritize their learning based on their goals, their industry, and their aspirations. I'll leave you with this thought. The world is changing faster than ever before, and the question is not whether you will be left behind, but whether you will be ready for what's coming. The difference between those who thrive and those who merely survive is how well they prepare for the future. That preparation starts today. It starts with educating yourself every day, staying ahead of the curve, and positioning yourself as someone who is ready to not just react to change, but to lead it. So start now, embrace the power of lifelong learning, and make it a non-negotiable part of your life. The world is evolving, and the best way to ensure you don't just keep up, but stay ahead, is to educate yourself every single day. As you embark on the journey of daily education, it's crucial to understand that it's not just about gathering random bits of information. True education, the kind that transforms your life, is about cultivating a deep understanding of the principles and ideas that drive success. It's about learning how to think differently, how to approach challenges, and how to see the world through a lens of growth and opportunity. Consider this: every day you are either learning or unlearning. Every day that you're not actively seeking out new information, improving your skills, and challenging your current thinking, you are falling behind. The world around you is moving forward, and you can either be part of that forward movement or you can be left behind. The choice is in your hand. Now, I want you to think about your own life. How many of you have set goals, created a vision for your future, or dreamed of a life that's different from where you are today? I'm sure all of us can raise our hands. But here's the reality. It's not enough to just have goals and dreams. You need the knowledge, the strategies, and the wisdom to turn those dreams into reality. And that's where continuous education comes in. It doesn't matter if your goal is to be a successful entrepreneur, an expert in your field, or simply to improve your life in a meaningful way. The education you commit to today will determine the life you create tomorrow. Let me tell you a story about a time in my life when I was looking for the right path, but I wasn't finding the results I wanted. I had the drive, the hustle, and the determination, but something wasn't clicking. I felt stuck. One day, a mentor of mine said, "Myron, you have the work ethic, but you're not investing enough in your own development. The world is moving, and if you're not moving with it, you'll be left behind." That hit me hard. It wasn't that I wasn't trying. It was that I wasn't learning enough. I wasn't filling my mind with the right knowledge. I wasn't expanding my understanding to match the level of ambition I had. At that moment, I understood the knowledge I needed was out there waiting for me, but it required me to actively seek it out. I began to educate myself on every aspect of my field, and I didn't stop with just business knowledge. I started learning more about personal development, psychology, philosophy, and leadership. I realized that education isn't just about getting better at one thing. It's about becoming a more complete and well-rounded person. The more I educated myself, the more doors opened. I began to see opportunities that had been right in front of me all along, but I had never been able to recognize them until I started learning from a place of deeper understanding. This process of daily education doesn't just change your knowledge, it changes your mindset. As you learn, you begin to approach problems differently. You begin to see solutions where others see only obstacles. You start to believe that you can do things that once seemed impossible because now you have the tools to make those things happen. The confidence that comes from continuous learning is like a muscle that strengthens over time. And with that strength comes the ability to take bold action. One of the biggest misconceptions that hold people back is the idea that they need to be perfect before they can start. People think, I need to have all the answers, I need to be an expert, I need to know everything before I can take action. But the truth is, no one has all the answers. And the experts you look up to, they were once in your shoes. They didn't wait until they were perfect. They didn't wait until they knew everything. What they did was commit to learning constantly. They didn't wait to start. They started and learned as they went along. They learned through failure, through mistakes, and through taking imperfect action. The key isn't perfection, it's progress. Every time you take a step to educate yourself, you're making progress. Even if it's small progress, like reading a book for 10 minutes a day or listening to a podcast on your commute. you're putting yourself ahead of most people. Most people aren't willing to put in that time, that effort, and that dedication to learning. But you are, and that commitment to daily education will pay off in ways you can't even imagine yet. Think about the areas of your life where you're struggling right now. Maybe it's in your career, your relationships, your health, or your finances. Every area of your life is a reflection of the level of education you've invested in it. If you want to improve in any of those areas, it all comes back to education. If you want to grow your business, you need to learn more about marketing, leadership, and strategy. If you want to improve your health, you need to educate yourself on nutrition, exercise, and wellness. If you want to be a better leader, you need to learn about communication, emotional intelligence, and team dynamics. No area of your life will improve without dedicated learning and action. But it's not just about gathering knowledge, it's about turning that knowledge into action. Knowledge without action is meaningless. It's like buying a car but never driving it. You've got the vehicle for success, but it's sitting in the garage collecting dust. You have to take the knowledge you gain and use it. Apply it to your life, your business, your relationships. The most successful people are those who turn learning into doing. Now, as we approach 2025, you have a choice. You can stay where you are, rely on what you already know, and let the world pass you by. Or you can decide that every single day, you're going to invest in your growth. You can commit to learning something new every single day and become unrecognizable in just a short amount of time. In 2025, the future belongs to those who are always learning and evolving. The world will reward those who educate themselves every day. It's time to take control of your future and make the decision today to never stop learning. Because when you educate yourself, you're not just preparing for tomorrow, you're preparing to dominate it.